Welcome back. This is K24 This Morning. My name is Jeff Moto. Of course, we're looking at the big stories of the day. And every single Monday, we talk to different county leaders to tell us where it is they stand as a county in terms of moving forward in leadership, what are some of the challenges they're facing, and especially more so now with the COVID-19 pandemic ravaging the country as a whole. What measures are they putting specifically in their county to move forward in this particular point in time? Today, we're joined by Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya to talk about the Kakamega County and where they stand as far as this particular pandemic is concerned, and also speaking as well as the chair of the Council of Governors on this particular issue and the synergies created by this particular council as well. Let me welcome him to the show at this particular point in time. Good morning, Governor.
Morning. How are you?
Very well. Karibu sana to the show.
Asante.
I want us to start off with the fact that at this particular point, most people are talking about the economic impact of COVID-19 because we've masked, we've washed hands, we are staying at home, those who can, but the cash crunch is being felt from, national companies all the way to your Mama Mboga. From where you stand as a Kakamega County, what measures are you putting in place to cushion your SMEs, your business people, your entrepreneurs in the county during this COVID time?
Let me tell you, thank you very much also for inviting me to this meeting, this interview in the morning. I can say that this has been the worst situation since I became governor. Since the first COVID patient was discovered here in Kenya in March 12th, and then the economy was shut. As counties, we have been going through many problems. For example, in my own county, I had projected to collect 2.1 billion Kenya shillings as own revenue. This dropped to 1 billion. You can imagine that we lost a whole figure of 1 billion Kenya shillings in the last 4 months. It has meant that we had to re-engineer most of our activities. Most of the projects that we had planned to do this year, we could not do it. And furthermore, also, because of the COVID-19, the national government had also a problem in collecting resources. And as we talk now, the national government has not been able to disperse the June and July disbursement, which means that as counties, we are at standstill. So while we say that we would want to cushion our people in various economic activities, it has been very difficult. We have reduced ourselves to actually addressing very basic requirements, like providing necessary commodities for washing hands, mobilizing the community to ensure that they understand that there is this pandemic of COVID-19, to maintain social distance and make sure that most of them work at home. Initially, we said that people should not go to the markets, but for survival, it has been a problem to keep people at home, but they are unable to get what they can eat. So we had to use enforcement officers and national security officers to prevent them to go to market. We tried to organize them in marketplaces, but it has become very impossible. So the only thing we are now doing is just to sensitize them so that they are aware that this disease is there. As a Council of Governors, we have come up with a committee that is looking at the post-COVID impact, and soon we shall be launching a paper that will involve all the 47 counties. And maybe we are grateful that we might have to sit with the national government, because the national government is also undertaking the same exercise. And then we hope that there will be some international support in this area so that we are able to revive our economy as soon as the post-COVID period is there.
Governor, I want to jump in as well on this. We had the last extraordinary summit taking place between the president and the various governors of this country. From there, of course, the president gave his address on measures that would be taken moving forward. I'm hoping you could take us into that room, even if it was a virtual room during this virtual meeting. What are some of the most pressing issues that were put on the table, and how was that deliberation really done? Because the country was waiting for this address the entire day. How was it being in that particular space and time? What was the big issue that all governors were putting to the president and vice versa?
The most important agenda that we discussed at the last extraordinary summit meeting was restricted to preparedness. How prepared the counties were, and how do we move from where we are to the future for the next 30 days, hopefully before we meet, and also decide to review how far we are, review what is happening in the environment, and see how we move on. And the most critical issue was that, you remember before we had agreed that every county must make sure that they have a minimum of 300 beds, and also a few facilities at the ICU. As you know, when COVID came, very few counties had ICU beds, but I'm grateful that most counties actually are fairly prepared. And already this pandemic is at every county, except 2 counties of West Pokot and Samburu. But the rest of them have actually cases. So we discussed the preparedness, the way we were, and then how do we move forward. And we agreed some of the measures that you had the president announce, because the Kenyans had now gone back to how they used to behave before COVID-19, when the cases were actually rising very much. And we hope that the few measures that the president announced last time maybe will be able to contain the spread of this disease.
Governor, let's also talk about another issue that had cropped up, the fact that it seemed like in this land there were some people who had more rights than others, especially with the COVID-19 protocols being put in place in terms of social distancing and wearing masks and public gatherings, and especially to do with public gatherings. Very many leaders and politicians were being accused of flouting these particular rules. Governor, your name came up as well in this particular issue, having political gatherings as well. What's your take on this? Because some people are saying that as a leadership, you're not leading from the front as leaders in this country.
I know very well that I was being accused for such, but let me assure you that as a chair of Council of Governors and also as a member of the National Coordinating Committee, I will be the last person to violate the health regulations put in place, because I know the dangers of doing so. The few gathering that I have had or I have participated, I have ensured that all the health protocols are followed. Usually, what we do, we make sure that we inform the public health officers. They have to inspect the venue of the meetings, and they have also to tell us how many people, putting into consideration the social distances, can be allowed to sit in such a room. And we make sure that the gathering is also not more than 100 people as allowed and announced by the president. And we make sure that the rooms are fumigated before the meeting, and also participants of such a meetings go through screening. And in any case, most of those meetings were sensitization meetings meant to arouse the awareness of people, especially the key stakeholders, to make sure that they help us as leaders to sensitize people on the issue of COVID-19. So I'm very sorry if some people thought that I was violating any regulation when I know that I wasn't, and I was following the protocol as provided by the Ministry of Health.
I want us to move it along on that one because that was an issue needed to raise in terms of what was going on, and Governor, your name had come up on that. Thanks for addressing that issue. I want us to move to what we are seeing in terms of what's happening on the floor of the Senate. Division of revenue, a key issue of concern at this particular point in time, but also we're getting to see the glaring disparities between counties and from COVID-19 preparedness, how they are there, but also in terms of resource allocation. How do you feel this can be sorted out moving forward? Because it's a key issue. They've tried to debate this, 5 times on the floor of the House. It hasn't worked. How do you get to a place where we can actually move forward as a country together in terms of development of the country as a whole?
This is unfortunate. This is unfortunate that there is a standoff on passing this third formula. As you know, this formula was supposed to be in place starting the last financial year. In fact, it has delayed 1 year. And the Council of Governors, being key stakeholders, actually, we provided our input roughly 1.5 years ago. The Commission on Revenue Allocation engaged the Council. At that time, Governor Nanok was the chair of the Council of Governors, and we did put our input. What we thought it would be necessary to make sure that the counties are cushioned against any variation that may come. And it was up to Commission on Revenue Allocation, CRA, to make recommendation to the Senate. And we allowed our own council to engage their respective senators so that they know what we had done, what input we had put in the equation. And it is entirely the responsibility of the Senate to actually pass this particular formula. What I feel, because now there is a standoff, we must move as a country. As we talk now, funds have not started flowing to the counties, and this particular formula is also being used as an excuse. Actually, it should not be an excuse, because the law is very clear that if the formula is not agreed, then we can use the older formula until that time that it will be agreed. But from my own perspective, I thought as a country we should move on, and I had suggested clearly that since the counties have already prepared their budgets, and these budgets have gone through their county assemblies, it will be very bad for these counties to go and lose about 2 million shillings or whatever money they will lose already when their projects and planning is already put in place for this financial year. And I thought the national government should come forward and compensate these particular counties. Because if income had increased from 316 to whichever figure, then this problem will have not arisen. But because the the revenue allocation for last year and this year is the same. That's why this impact is being felt. We have also said that equalization fund has not been implemented for the last 8 years. And most of this money is still held by the Treasury. This money will have also been used to cushion those counties that actually that have lost money, so that this particular year, no county loses. And then secondly, the national government should implement the equalization fund. If this was implemented, these counties complaining, they should have not complained, because the equalization fund should have been used actually to cushion these counties to undertake some projects using the equalization fund. And that's why the equalization fund was put in place in the Constitution. But unfortunately, up to now, this equalization fund has not been implemented. And this will have resolved most of these problems that now we are encountering now.
Governor, are we seeing a scenario where we are having various governors also talking to their senators so as to have an approach that they move forward in terms of knowing what exactly the needs are of the county? For example, have you been in talks with Malala to make sure that he's representing the county's needs the fullest, especially with regards to this particular issue in terms of division of revenue? Or are senators having a free hand on how they deliberate this on the floor of the House?
Yeah, my senator actually knows my position. We have discussed with him, but it's also up to him to make his own decision based on what he feels is good for Kakamega people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we'll wait and see what exactly that decision is going to be, of course, as it gets back on the floor of the House tomorrow. I want us to move it along also and speak about development in the area, because we're at a point where some counties are, moving forward in terms of their road networks, the development put in that particular area. You've said at this point in time for Kakamega, all that can be done is just trying to maintain the Ministry of Health protocols put in place. But before that, what's the record been in terms of development in Kakamega County, infrastructure-wise?
Kakamega County, we have moved ahead a lot in terms of infrastructure. As I came in as the first governor, I had a vision where to take this county in the next 10 years. And I followed that particular path to ensure that this county moves ahead. This is a county with roughly a population of 2 million people. The poverty levels are very high, about 50%. So the first thing I thought of is actually to open up the roads so that people are able to engage in meaningful economic activities. If you come to Kakamega, I have opened roads in the rural area in terms of the 10-kilometer project per ward. I have, at the moment, tarmacked roads within the two largest urban areas, Kakamega and Mumias, so that as commercial centers, people are able to do their businesses easily. I've also tried as much as possible connecting sub-county headquarters with tarmac roads so that people are able to access sub-county headquarters without any problem. My project is to make sure that by the end of my term, at least I've tarmacked 200 kilometers of road network in the rural area. I have opened up roads to the tune of 10,000 kilometers, rural roads, so that there is accessibility. And I think if you moved around Kakamega, you will establish that this has been achieved, and we are going to achieve the target set by the end of my term.
Let's talk about another promise that had been made by the national government, and it's a thorn in the flesh for them, and it's all about stadia. you know, because they had promised a certain number of stadia being done across the country. We're getting close to the end of their term. That hasn't happened yet. But one big stadium, of course, that is spoken about every single time is in your county, Bukungu Stadium. What's the status of that one?
Which one? Can you come again?
I'm talking about in terms of...
Bukungu Stadium?
Yes.
The stadium?
Yes.
I know that I had also to undertake projects that actually will move our youth forward. One of the projects I undertook was the Youth Empowerment and Women Empowerment Program that involved 3,000 youth. This is a project that I have put all the youth and the women to undertake support programs within their own wards, and in the evening they are able to go to the county polytechnics to upscale their skills. And the second project I've undertaken was to actually reconstruct Bukungu Stadium. This is a project that will take about 4 billion Kenya shillings. At the moment, I have done the first phase. I'm on the second phase. And in another 6 months, we will be looking at the third phase. My aim was actually to finish this project because this is a project that will attract sporting activities within the county, more so the international sporting activities, because this is what will build the economy of Kakamega County.
Okay.
I might be able to finish this project, or I might not be able to finish, but if I don't finish, I'm very hopeful that whoever takes over me will take this program or this project very seriously, so that this project is completed for the success of the people of Kakamega.
Okay, Governor, we have 30 seconds before we wind up our conversation. Of course, the big question really is, this being your second term, Governor, where do you go from here? A couple of governors have already thrown their hat in the presidential race. Where do you see yourself post-2022?
Of course, you will expect that if you have a student in second school and he or she has reached Form 4, the next one is to go to university. So I'm hopeful that I will join my colleagues who has ambition of being president of this country. I have the same ambition of being a president of this country, if given the chance. Of course, there are other hurdles that we have to clear within our own party and also within our own region.
Okay. Okay. We leave it at that, and all the best in terms of your university level of education, politically speaking. Asante sana for that, Governor Oparanya. Thank you so much for your time, for being on the show. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the interview also.
Asante sana. Of course, that winding up a conversation with Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, bringing us to just a minute before we close. I know we're supposed to have spoken about revenue, a division of revenue.